Yes, Adam, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Wellington School Building Committee to order. It is March 9th, 2026 at 7:05 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. First President Sam Perry walking in, and Grosjean Annenbrewer, myself, James Marshall. And online, we have Jeremy Brothers, Adam Zalonis, and Lisa Eden. Lisa, can you hear us and speak?
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So with that said, we do have an open seat, so I'm going to make a motion that we seat Lisa Eden for the vacant seat for tonight.
I'll second it. Thank you, Joshua.
Beautiful. All those in favor? We'll start with aye. Please say aye. Aye. You guys online?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Lisa, you are seated for tonight.
Okay, great.
Beautiful. All right. Next up on the agenda is community forum, question and answer. So we do this at the start of every meeting. Public participation is encouraged. Speakers are encouraged to utilize this opportunity for dialogue with the committee constructively, and will be limited by appropriateness, staying on topic, and maintaining decorum. We do set a limit given our busy agenda to 30 minutes total. Start in the room. Nobody in the room, so we'll move right on live.
We should cheer for somebody if there's somebody in the room. So.
If there's anybody online that would like to speak with the committee, feel free to raise your hand and identify yourself for the record, please.
Okay, you're going to make me figure out how to raise my hand, huh?
Oh, we got you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Sorry. Michelle Doucette Cunningham, Liska Road. I'm happy to see that you guys have set up the timing of the meetings on a regular basis. So it was really easy for me to keep this schedule in my book. So thank you for that, for putting out the whole schedule in advance. And the yellow postcard was really helpful. It made it very easy to find the meeting tonight and to find the materials. So thank you for that communications work, because I think that's really essential. I wanted to put in my 2 cents around the topic of an auditorium that the school board had discussed at great length some years ago when we were looking at the education specifications. We recognize that the size of our school doesn't necessarily, and the number of students we have doesn't necessarily warrant the amount of space that an auditorium that is not used every minute of every day would take out of the existing education specifications. It's more important that we have classrooms that are in use all the time than we use our square footage on an auditorium. But I would hope that the school building committee, in its process of thinking about how we might add on an auditorium at some point, should we want to. So when you're looking at the space available, it is something that we could, for example, at some point down the road, whether it's sooner, like September, or later years from now, want to add on, not just add on extra classrooms should we have a building spurt, but also the capacity to conceivably add on a standalone auditorium. It was something that was championed across the aisle. Both Republicans and Democrats supported that issue when it came up. It is that we don't have enough space in town to even have a big town meeting. And we don't have a place where we can easily convene. So thinking about the school as a community building, that we may want a community space. Now, if we, in your process of thinking about how we're going to reuse some of the other buildings once we get to the school, that's another option. So I just wanted to plant the seed about the potential for a convening place where we could hold a large town meeting in your plan, so that there's room for that build out at some point down the road. So that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to bring it back up on the agenda, because I haven't heard a lot of discussion about it in recent days. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, the ed specs are still in the process of being reevaluated. We've been focusing on getting consultants onboarded to help everybody in just that. So I think at this point, still early, but we'll get there fast. So thank you. Is there anybody else online? Well, one more time in the room, you're three. Did you want to speak at present speak or you're not, no obligation?
No, I'm just wondering how things are going to be going, and I thought I should be involved as an understanding as I wasn't the last time around, so.
I appreciate it.
Like everybody else, this is quite an important issue for our town and our communities.
Appreciate it. In fact, since we did just have a conversation, if you could just identify yourself or.
Oh, my name is Mark Fisher Keller, and we live on Fisher Hill Road,
Thank
and
you.
we're not related to it.
Thank you for both of you for being present and for being engaged. Much appreciated. We could use it. All right, hearing no other further comments at this time, we're going to move on because we have quite a busy agenda. Next up is approval of minutes, item 3A, minutes from March 2nd, 2026. Should be the next in your packet. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look, but do I have a motion for three?
I move to amend it on March 2nd, 2026, a special meeting.
All right, I heard somebody online chime in.
Yeah, it was me. I was gonna make the motion, but I will second that.
All right. All right, we've been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. Good job as always, Lisa. I'm glad you're back on doing these again. My substitute. One event. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 All right. That was 7. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. I did it again. Right there. Thank you. All right, so next up, and I'll be brief, chair report. Just a couple of general updates, because most of what we're going to talk about is on agenda. First and foremost, you'll see Mr. Scott, Valley project leader, here with us tonight. A letter of intent went out to Colliers just earlier this afternoon, in follow up to our selection last week. Scott is there's also been a draft contract for their services is in the selectmen's office currently under review. So that process is working forward, but I'm happy to say Scott, the college team has been really engaged and accommodating to jump right in, given our schedule constraints. So we appreciate that. Thank you for being here tonight. And beyond that, a lot of that will happen in the background, and I'll reserve anything else for Scott till the next slide. So, so that's all I have for now. We'll hit everything else later on in the agenda item. But first up, new business, Mars project manager. Introductions, onboarding, and hi, Scott.
Well, good evening. Thank you all very much. I certainly appreciate the confidence and the leaders to, work with you and get this consolidated school project, through a successful referendum. So I don't know if we really want to get into it tonight. I did, again, just formed last week. We'll try to hit the ground running. I have started working on a draft milestone schedule. Now, this milestone schedule just reflects our current task, which is to plan out a path, a roadmap for a referendum in a grant application prior to June 30th this year. So a lot of steps. This list is going to grow. Certainly once we get the architect on board. There's a lot of things here that are kind of placeholders. Once we really have a chance to meet with you and go through this in a little bit more detail, I'm not sure we necessarily want to do that tonight. But when you're looking at it, what I typically do is I put in all Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meetings. If something isn't dark or bold, it really means that I don't anticipate something on the project happening within that listing, but I like to have these on there, so if we're going through this, if we need a meeting, we know what's coming up, it's still there on this action item list, on this milestone schedule. We understand that you're talking about architects, and the interviews, we've got that down here, the town is interviewing the architects for this Thursday. We're really hoping to have them onboarded as soon as possible. We also met last Thursday and talked about having some type of working group meeting, not with the full committee, not with a quorum, but with certain individuals here to meet with on a weekly basis to help keep things moving, keep the reviews going, keep the information, the processes moving. Those still have to be formalized. Those are on this list as well. And if you flip to the back, you'll see that there's 3 sort of highlighted yellow targets, and we really kind of worked our way from the back to the front. Again, nobody's really seen this yet. This is from just very high level preliminary discussions. Really looking to have a referendum sometime in the middle of June, because we need to get the certified results done with the grant application package so we can file it by the end of June. Working back from there, look at the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting. Again, our understanding, again, draft, though we've seen this, would be really that the Board of Selectmen would want to see the project or discuss the project in 2 meetings. They're not just going to get the recommendation from the building committee, from the Board of Education, at their next meeting, set a referendum. And again, we're anticipating that there will be potentially presentations involved with a lot of these Board of Education meetings, Board of Selectmen meetings as well. I tried to put a nod to some of those into this. So, we're anticipating really by May 11th, the May 11th building committee meeting, the target would be that we work with the architects, the estimators, looked at a number of options, and at that point, been able to boil it down for this committee, and then the following evening for the Board of Education to make a recommendation on an option or options to be discussed at the Board of Selectmen level at their meeting on May 18th. So we see kind of May 11th is a real critical. So if you look at that, we've got 2 months to do a lot of work onboarding our architects, start to look at these options, pricing them out. I'm going to be reaching out and getting a quote, at least on the existing site, for phase 1 site environmental. Have a quote for the next building committee meeting from some companies. Again, that's a requirement. Again, we know we're looking at that site. We've got to be prepared that we have that piece of information. That's a statutory requirement as part of the grant filing. We do it based on the site environmental. So again, I've started to put in some of those tasks. I've already built in some milestones for the design team, and they're going to be pretty quick, 1-2 weeks, have some draft concepts to us, a kickoff meeting to walk through the site, follow-up concepts, reviews with this committee, again, all in a manner to get us to that May 11th. So hopefully this group on or around May 11th can make a recommendation of options to proceed.
So what I will say, Scott, is I greatly appreciate this as the working starting point. What I will say is I know as a community and the various boards in town, we'll do what we can, even if it means special meetings, to accommodate and capture the most effective and most efficient schedule we can, while also allowing for as much time for this process, understanding.
Yeah, I took a lot of liberties with this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm caveating it. It hasn't, I haven't talked to any of the committees or groups. This is the first time you're seeing it.
Yep.
Again, we have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Putting a plan together. So this is our starting point.
Can you,
Yeah.
largely because I know you just handed that in the room, I don't think you sent this electronically, if you could.
No, I didn't, because I was still working on it when
Yeah.
the package was going out. I can give this to you. I can get this to you tomorrow.
Largely because I want to make sure that the people that are in attendance that have the ability to get this, and
Absolutely.
I'd like to make sure it gets in front of the selectors. And you guys can share it for that, because as this gets, with the understanding that it is a rough draft, but just to give a sense of what the timeframe is, so everybody starts to think about on the aggressiveness of the schedule and the importance of really hitting some of these milestones, just put them on everybody's radar. It's really gonna be. It's gonna be critical, we're all gonna have to work together. So,
Right now, I'm looking at the latest April 14th for the board to approve the revised ed spec. And again, I think, as the board develops those revisions, hopefully there won't be a lot of changes. You've already got a great start on it. I'd say you're 98% of the way there. So we'll give that to the architects to start working with, but we really need that finalized so they can kind of lock in on their final concept. And also, so we can have that final area of square footage, to start working with their estimators, develop those overall project budgets.
Committee members that are online, I just took a picture of what Scott's talking about and I just emailed it to you, so if you are doing something.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're right.
Scott, no, I mean, that's, it feels like mid-April's an eternity from now, but it's not. But in the grand scheme of things, I think, what will be advantageous, because a lot of us have questions, these, particularly over the next, action items over the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that we are prepared. Obviously, we're talking about architectural engineering services, this week, and hopefully within the next week, we are scheduled to be at a point where we're making a decision, or recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on that front.
Yeah, you'll see that I was hoping that based on your interviews this Thursday, by Monday, you would be able to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for their meeting.
All right, yeah, that is my
Okay.
scheduled target. It'll be a special meeting, guys, but we'll talk about that for look ahead. It's a good segment, look ahead schedule down the line. We can call probably a special meeting just dedicated to that purpose. Talk about that in a little bit, but contracts, you have kickoffs as soon as middle of next week, which is excellent. You have an action item on here for Warren Phase One existing site as early as 2 weeks. So thinking ahead, that would be our next regular meeting. That should be okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the 23rd, yeah, and I tend to color code things at times, so all the PDC meetings are of blue. Just so the PDC meetings jump off the page a little bit more, those are regularly scheduled, or, potentially if we do special meetings.
SBC regular.
I'm sorry, school building committee, not permanent building, I'll fix that. My first day for.
All right,
And certainly, again, if we can, if we are able to finalize this week, working group meeting, then we can go through this in more detail with that.
yeah, so I guess a little background for the committee. What I will say is that once we give Scott and LSG a notice of award or notice that we're recommending award, Scott had asked through being the chair to set up an informal kickoff meeting, just so that he could be up to speed with the latest in advance of this meeting and understand where we were at to hit the ground running with us. So I asked Adam as vice chair and Phil Stevens and Mike McCoo was also involved in that as well from the contractual needs perspective. And we met with Scott remotely on Thursday afternoon just to, again, get to the point where he had the information where he could start to work up the schedule for us. We meet bi-weekly regularly, and I think any formal action the committee has is going to be formal actions for the committee, and all decisions will be made by this committee. But with the speed that some of these things are going to progress, I think Scott, you recommended weekly steering group meetings, and I'd like to propose that the vice chair and chair should be in on that, and Phil as superintendent and the data requirements, I think you have to be. With Mike on board for any technical or administrative issues when student. But I wanted to get everybody's feel on that, just it's really to make sure that we're moving things effectively in between our meetings so that we get the information we need. That's what I'm used to personally as well.
I think that's a great team.
I have no problem giving, more time to this on a Thursday every week, working, it's just a quick remote meeting with these guys, I'll do it for sure. Help through this process.
The only thing I'm concerned about is not notifying the public and they think that stuff's gonna go down without being notified.
So I guess elaborate on that a little bit, Jeremy, because these aren't meetings. These are essentially the same as you meeting with Adam. For working groups to, for example, on the property evaluation front. It's kind of that interim, just working meetings to make sure that we're getting to the point where we have stuff to discuss as a full committee at our regular meeting dates. Does that make sense? Or am I being kind of unclear on the intent?
I mean, there's 4 of you, so that puts it as a quorum.
No, it doesn't. There's 3 of us.
No, you said yourself, Vice Chair, McCool, and Stevens. Isn't that 4?
Correct. Mike is not a standing permanent member of this committee. Bill is, however. He's just a non-voting member, correct? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the regular steering committee would be myself, Adam, and Phil regularly, because that's kind of the critical path. So it is not a quorum. It would not be a regular meeting. We're not hiding anything from the public. But we do need to be able to do work as a group in the interim between our regular meetings.
Which I understand. I thought Mike was part of I know he's a non-voting member, but I thought he was part of the committee.
Now, Mike is, as first selectman, is a de facto
Ex officio.
ex-officio member of every committee, but it's not, for the purposes of quorum, he's not a seating or standing member of this committee. And I will confirm that with Mike just for good measure, but that is my understanding of it, Jeremy.
All right.
You
I just
also, that group, Jeremy, cannot hold any votes. Because you'd only have 2 voting members, so if Mike were there and I were there, you wouldn't have a quorum because you wouldn't have enough people that were.
And I don't think anybody's intention is to take anything like that outside of this committee anyways. I mean, we're all trustworthy community members. Doing the same thing everyone else is doing. We're trying to work for our town to come up with a good school for everybody, so.
If I may, the chair, I think one of the critical aspects of that is if we're preparing public presentations, that's going to be a way to start working on a draft of a public presentation. I've always framed those that any presentation that's going to go in front of the public is going to go to the building committee first. We work on that and then schedule a public meeting to present that material. So again, that it's kind of a working session to develop a lot of tools, the information that's then going to go to the committee and then go to the public.
Any further thoughts on that, or I'll work with, you guys schedule a convenient time with, engineering with Scott and the colleagues team, just to make sure that we're getting him. My primary purpose is to make sure that our OPM and then ultimately our architect and engineering team are getting the information they need to be able to fly with us. And Scott, future meetings, you're gonna be able to stand in with us. You don't need to be seated in the audience. That's the reality of the situation is our OPM, our architect, engineering, and ultimately our construction manager, when we get there, if we get there, it's a team effort. And it's really gonna be all hands on deck, just everybody working together collaboratively, both here and with the other boards as well, so.
So at some of your meetings, you'll have the architects and the engineer and then other people from your firm, like we're doing certain. At those working meetings, so it wouldn't just be limited to the 4 of you or.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as the architect's on board, again, if we're gonna schedule, hey, they need to get into the school and walk through or walk the site. Let's download some of the past information, get them up to speed as quickly. We don't need to do that in the full committee to get the architect up to speed. So the first meeting with the architect is gonna be letting them know, whomever you choose, getting them up to speed on population, the ed spec, what the provisions, what's happening, going over this schedule, so they, even though it was in the RFP, that they understand, start talking about laying out those deliverables that they're.
Yeah, it's really getting them up to speed so that they can get us the information we need as a committee to make the decisions on that. Yeah, for the community and for the community. Excellent. All right. So critical path on this is obviously what we're already, I think, working towards, which is great. So, that's wonderful. And we'll meet we'll meet a couple of times over the next 2 weeks. So, to process that through. Bill, do you anticipate any issues with the mid-April timeframe?
No.
Bill, Sam, with Board of Ed spec updates? I think that'll allow plenty of time to get our AE team to kind of provide some insight as well. For you. On the ed spec and program that we have currently.
I think they're gonna have to have a special meeting and maybe approve it that night, the 14th. It is vacation week, so any feedback from its parents, but I expected a separate meeting prior to that week. It would be where the discussion would be have people on the way in. I would expect the 14th would just be final document stamp.
Is the 14th your regular meeting? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Let's so one step at a time, we'll get the AE team on board.
Yep.
And then we'll work to coordinate that for you and Sam. All right. Got it. This is great. Thank you. Anything else well, I think we're gonna have your weigh in and buy in on some property evaluation questions later on.
Yep.
I suspect, but
Yeah, and I do have a few comments on just the RFP for the architect, so when you get to that point. I just want to make sure that when you're interviewing capture, I've got some scope questions to make sure whether they have or haven't included it. Because it wasn't necessarily clear within the RFP. So I just want to make sure that that's critical.
okay. So unless you have anything else, we'll just move on and ask for your participation as we go along. Okay, questions? All right. Before I move on, anything else online? No? All right, hearing none. Beautiful. Thank you very much. That there. All right, old business. Straight into it. Thanks for the segue, Scott. 6A, RFQP for architectural and engineering services, qualification and evaluations. So just a little background and summary on that. We received, or I guess an overview for the public rather. We did receive 6 submissions for architectural engineering services before the submission deadline last week. They were opened at the selectman's office and disseminated to the whole committee. The qualifications portions of these submissions were opened and submitted to the committee for review last Wednesday. And the committee reviewed them, and every member provided a scoring metric and ranked them all based on the metrics that we had outlined within the RFP itself. What I provided and included in your packets here is just a summary of those rankings based on the scores submitted by everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your attentiveness to getting that done so quickly. I know that was a big stack of binders. And we are fortunate that we had 6 very thorough respondents, and I think they were all impressive in their own way, which was wonderful. So it's nice to have this many options and this much opportunity for evaluation. So back to this brief summary. What I did as I was inserting these, as you guys sent them along yesterday, you see 2 versions of this, one with and without Anne's scores included. So when Anne sent them over, as I started to input them, I had asked Anne to take a second look because of the spread between the numbers was a very significant outlier from what I was seeing for everybody else. particularly on the low side. And I asked her to just take another look, thinking that there might have been some, I don't know, misunderstanding with the score sheet, the way we had sent it out. So Ann and I spoke this morning, and basically she came to me and basically said, I was very uncomfortable scoring these. It's not in my wheelhouse. And she had asked that her scores be not consolidated with the rest for the purposes of this. I didn't want Ann's voice to not be kind of heard in here as well.
I did go through the process.
But there is why that's why you see two different rankings here, and what the top one is without Ann's scores. And there is a fairly good, you'll see there's a fairly level consistency on what the top three became. Once that spread was interjected, it kind of threw things a little off. For example, like one of the firms that was at the second highest placements in the top three by members of the committee didn't even make the cut. They were fifth in the ranking, so it did skew things quite a bit. But I did want to include them just so that everybody here was at least aware of Ann's ranking. 1, 2, and 3 who her favorite was, for point of comparison. But you do see that's the summary. So based on total score divided by the number of applicants, by the number of evaluations, and it's pretty consistent for our top three. What I will say is I'm going to ask this knowing the answer full well, Scott. I know weighing in a public forum as you work with all of these individuals in your professional life. But was there anything, we did send these to you just so that you're aware of what we got. Did you see anything that would disqualify anybody, first and foremost in that list there?
No, I mean, I think, again, you had 5 well put together packages. I do believe, and I think the committee accurately picked it up that the one firm was lacking in experience, specifically understanding state and active regulations. So I think that was spot on. But all 5 are good quality firms who've done a lot of schoolwork. I've worked at 2. I've worked with the principal of 1 other, and then 2 others I'm working with right now. So good familiarity with all 5. Again, I think all 5 will be able to do the job.
Excellent. So yeah, thank you, Scott. So I don't know, and I almost hesitate because we're gonna have some of these guys in for interviews to get into in the weeds on a detailed discussion, but I wanted to get to the point where we feel comfortable whittling this down to a 3 that we want to hear more from.
Should be pretty simple based off the grading sheets, right?
I think it is, but I don't want to make that assumption for everybody else too. So I mean, my suggestion is the 1, 2, and 3, given that is consistent in a couple of different metrics with the way we scored them all individually. But the ones highlighted in green are the ones we try to work to coordinate interviews with later in the week. But if you guys are okay with that, we can kind of make a motion to do so. But please, I don't want to feel like I'm cutting anybody off on this.
I'll make a motion on this. The top 3 that are here in green to bring them in.
Oh, wait.
Are you doing,
Which green? We can't see what you're talking about.
I was gonna say, are we doing the top 3 with or without, excluding or including? And
I suggest we exclude my scores.
I'm just asking for clarity, that's all.
I'll make the motion, I think, if we get to that point and identify which 3 they are, just so that we're clear. But yeah, I think the top of the 2, the one with without Ann's scores factored in. The consistent.
So are we talking top 3 ranking or the score ranking top 3?
The top, all.
So not top 3 count. Okay.
They're different, Jim. The ring.
No, they're both there. The same three firms.
It's the same three firms, but the order is different, but
Yeah, the order's different, so.
okay, we're not doing the median count or whatever then. I guess it doesn't matter either, it's the same. Never mind.
It's the same, yeah, it should be the same. Does that sound like an effective plan for everybody?
Is there a reason you wouldn't do the fourth when the spread is one? Yeah, there's the bottom two are not close.
Was kind of just.
And to be honest with you, we haven't seen the bid numbers. So
Hmm.
if you have. Open the bid numbers and you have. Two that are high, super high, and one that's low, and it's your third place, and you wish you had the fourth.
So,
Yeah.
what I will say is we kind of put this out there as a qualifications-based selection first, that's not
Agreed.
today. But also with the ability for fee proposals to kind of inform that decision. And
Yeah.
obviously, we're not there yet. The only other thing I will check right now in our RFP is
Right.
if we limited it to three, say, we might have selected the RFP itself, and said up to three or no more than three. And I'm checking that right now. Which is why I think I had that three in my mind.
I guess I'm saying that with, I mean, the fourth place person right now, and I understand that, what you're saying.
Yeah.
The fourth place person right now. For a few of the people that did the evaluations, it was their second place person.
No, it's a fair discussion.
So I just, you know,
I will say, yeah, it does, we will select a short
It was
list.
not
of
mine.
appointment. We will select a short list of no more than three for further consideration, is what was outlined in the RFP. Scott, I'll ask for your guidance on this.
It's a valid point. Normally, what we would recommend is do what you've done, which is perfect, is.
Yeah.
Look at the qualifications prior to opening up the bids, but certainly financially, again, if. Phil's got a great point.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, and 4 are, what I would do is you've got your rankings now based on qualifications. I know the weighted, I think final selection, you did put a huge amount of weight on the cost. But I think if you do have the fees, if you have received the fees yet, or if you could factor those in to your final selection, I think that would be appropriate.
You can make a comment, Jim?
Please.
Sorry, I'm nasally. But,
Let's see.
I could be wrong in remembering this, but for the OPM stuff, didn't we make an exception because we invited an extra person and that they declined? That's not what we originally said.
Yeah, but that was again, cap three,
up to three.
up to three.
Yeah. What your point?
Yeah,
So we were up to three, but the person declined an interview, so we were okay with two.
And I think you may be pulling this from the state statute now. Again, once the project is defined, you are gonna have to go back out for our services, architectural services. Then you have to follow statute as far as going to, P.
Yeah.
And interviewing no more than three. This phase of the project isn't covered by statute, this is not reimbursed by the state of Connecticut. So I'm just pointing that out, so you're not covered by statute as far as reimbursement, that may. Give you more leeway as you see fit or appropriate.
Yeah, I mean. On my end, this is always about finding the right. Firm based on their qualifications and experience first and foremost to me. But I'm happy, I'm on board for wherever you guys are going, I think. I'm happy to interview. I'm happy to interview as many people as we feel are worth taking a look at.
I mean, I'm kind of neutral, but just so I'm fine with either decision, but one of the reasons why I think I remember liking. Silver Pipicelli is that they had a lot of. One thing that was in my mind, and I wrote a couple comments on some of my score sheets, was looking at similar jobs in similar towns. Not, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the places had towns like in Fairfield County, Greenwich, cities, not necessarily small towns like Ellington, Hebron, things like that. Which I feel like Silver Petroselli had that, so I liked that small town mentality of like they've been in a smaller, more like rural town like us versus a Bridgeport, like, okay, it's a reference, it's a comparable job, maybe, but that's just my 2 cents as to why I think, you know, they were higher ranking for me, and I do see that's like, okay, they were off by 1 point. We wanna do 4, but if you also wanna just keep it cut and dry, and let's just keep going and do 3, I'm fine with that too, but I just wanted to kind of use that as a point of reference to some people who maybe weren't looking at it through that lens. I don't know.
What do you?
Sorry, I'm shuffling. I'm not sure if that's stated because I don't want to throw somebody under the bus. But the way I scored these was based upon our questions. And there was one of the proposals had big red flags in it for me. But I couldn't speak to it because the questions on that we were ranking on, it was not one of those things. And I just would, without having, you know, talk, like last time we talked in executive session about where we were with folks and we could be, I don't want to say that publicly, I don't want.
That's fair. How do you guys feel? It's a little harder when the hybrid, how did you guys online have any strong thoughts one way or the other? Whether
Yeah, I thought project approach, I thought some of them were absolutely appallingly generalized. What detail did they have? What background work did they do in actually putting in for their proposal on the actual project? You know, they talk about they're gonna, you know, talk with stakeholders and engage people and get everybody on the page. Well, that's sort of like barely par in my book. You know, if you're not going to do that sort of stuff, you don't even deserve to be interviewed by any stretch. So that's sort of like the basic requirement to begin with, but you should be talking specifics about the project. You should have done research on the project to understand the details of it. They should have been talking about, you know, rough estimates. There was only one, and I think one firm that I saw that talked about 5 rough magnitude estimates. Maybe I didn't pick it up in the other ones, but I was looking and I didn't see it. You know, I don't think understanding it was clear in what we were asking.
I was just saying, at this point, with everything being said, are we interviewing 3 or are we interviewing 4? And we, you know, we go from there.
I feel, I agree with what Sam was saying about I feel kind of neutral about it. I mean, I think that, and I think I was one of the raters who had those architect firms similarly rated. I don't know. I guess for me, the most pressing thing might be like our timeline right now and how challenging it might be to interview 4 people. If there's not a big impact on that, then I say we lean towards interviewing 4, but we're still trying to do this all in a single day, right?
If we can get them all in that time, we should have a backup date just in case, given the short notice, meaning we talked about Thursday afternoon for several hours of interviews.
In my calendar.
We need to get these guys in here with a team that's able to competently speak to us. I don't know if Friday, if anybody has up, just hammer through. Yeah, just make it happen Thursday. We'll just hammer through on Thursday.
That's it.
We'll just
And if
start
they can
over.
make it, they can make it. If they can't, well, then that's so be it.
Do we have time slots for 4?
We'll start earlier. Or
I mean, if we can do 4, I don't think there's a detriment to not doing it. I mean, we have more options. We can explore what they have to offer.
okay.
I think Bill's point was well taken too, that 2 of them were top 2 choices for
Yep.
several of our members, so I think that's a good reason to really look forward.
The public schedule in the RFP did anticipate interviews this week, so
Yeah,
they knew what they were getting into when they
Right.
responded.
That's
yeah,
it.
no, I'm not,
They should be planning.
it's having, and knowing this from my perspective, you are responsive, you get there. So it's just a matter of making sure that we get them all staggered, appropriately, so I think we can make that happen.
What did you schedule last time? How long?
We had it for 45 minutes with 15 in between, but it did feel a little short.
Really?
Well, not, I mean, it felt a little short from the presenters. I think Scott was on the other side of the table. I don't think either of the ones we interviewed for OPM really felt like they got through all of their material. I think we learned a lot about them in the time that we had, which was great. Obviously enough to make a decision. But I think with an hour block, we don't need 15 minutes in between.
No, an hour should be sufficient.
We can probably shorten that a little bit, give them all an extra 5 minutes and, 5 or 10 minutes.
Normally we see, about 5 minutes in between.
Yeah.
Maximum of 10, but typically 5. It depends on whether you really want to discuss a lot of each individual interview after the interview before the next team comes in, or you want to wait till after all four was discussed. The whole.
Yeah, so we've been looking at 4 hours plus time after for discussion, so 4.5 to 5 hours of a chunk of time that on Thursday, guys, what we're talking about.
Well, I suggested starting at 1:45, so we can move it down to 12:45.
I think we can. Does that work for everybody is the first question.
What's that, 12:45?
45
Sure.
online,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right,
Yep.
I mean, I can tell you that I have some conflicting things on that day. We were discussing starting at 12.
we originally were targeting 1:45 or so.
Oh,
Now
1:30 is better. Okay.
we're talking 12:45 to get
12:45 would be difficult.
so with interviews at 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Sure.
You yelled at it, but I'll show you his calendar on 4. Yeah. Same thing we did last time. We'll save everybody.
See, I feel like in a half an hour, if you can't convince me. I've already seen your 180-page packet. No offense.
I don't know.
I mean, but
I mean, typically,
I'd like to
in
get.
my world, you're going in for 45 minutes, or depending on how big.
I think 45 minutes is fair, but I'm looking at like. Literally 30 minutes max presentation and then 15 minutes of back and forth.
Yeah, that's like we did last time.
And then 5 minutes and roll.
You could tell them that, Jim, and that way they would be prepared to.
Yeah, no, I'll set it up the same way we did last time, right? Just make 30 minutes, or roughly 30 minutes of presentation with 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A
We
afterwards.
just buy some time if you say 12, whatever it was.
I think we wanna, with that long, we're gonna wanna gap, a little bit of a gap in between, so we're not going for long together. And if anybody run long, then we have people. Like, I don't wanna cut anybody short because we schedule way too aggressively when an extra half hour first afternoon makes or breaks it.
Yep.
All right. So. 4 it is. All right. So. With that said, no, you're good. When we're all hungry and grumpy on Thursday, Phil, we'll blame you.
Yeah, I'll bring snacks. How's that?
So what I'm gonna do, let's formalize this with a motion, even though I'm not sure we need to, but, I'm gonna move that we invite, in no particular order, the Slam Collaborative, Tecton Architects, Silver Petroselli and Associates, and QA&M Architecture, to join us for interviews this Thursday afternoon, to discuss their qualifications.
Not good.
I think that was second, and nasally second.
So bad. I'm a mouth breather right now, sorry.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Lisa, I'm gonna have you say it for the recording.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, that is unanimous. So next steps on this, I will reach out to the contacts. Two next steps. First, I will get the pricing open. And I will send them all to you tomorrow morning. So that you have them for reference heading into the interviews for the 4 respondents that we just invited. I will reach out to all 4, and I may just assign, I'll reach out to all 4 and ask them what their availability is for the afternoon, give me a first and second choice, and send those hour-long blocks from 1, 2, 3, and 4 o'clock. And we will plan a meeting at 1:45, so we can, 12:45, so that we can get here. Get into executive session as needed. Till probably about 5:30, so we have some time to discuss after the fact. Sound like a plan? All right. I will.
Post the agenda tomorrow.
I'm aware. Thank you. Never hurts to have a reminder, though. All right. And now before we go off of that topic, Scott, you said, you had some thoughts related to scoping clarifications that we should ask anybody who's in the group.
Yeah, looking through the RFP, it kind of made a nod that the architect would work with the OPM on the required documents for grant application. Now, I do understand you're looking at a potential additional renovation project as part of this, but I didn't see a renovation analysis, which is ultimately doing a structural evaluation of existing buildings, certifying it will last another 50 years. And really the architectural team determining, one, is the existing Hall Memorial School suitable for renovation? And then 2, part of that is they have to submit and do an estimate. At the end of this, they'll have to sign a form or a document certifying that it is in fact cheaper to renovate than to build new. Again, if it's more expensive to renovate, and that's the option you choose, you'd have to go through special legislation with the state to say who will fund the project, everything that is not eligible for reimbursement, all the repair and replacement things. So I just didn't see that mentioned here. So I think it would be very good to confirm that, did you include a renovation analysis, knowing that we're looking at doing a renovation option as part of the grant application?
How did we handle that in the last? How did you guys handle it in the last go?
I think they did one.
I think we did an evaluation. I think that ultimately the estimates that were provided demonstrated, I mean, because there's inefficiencies in the existing hall, school, single level quarters, some of the other things that were strapped project. That what was presented in the last go around is more expensive to renovate than to build new. So ultimately, those were put out to the public, the options with or without the auditorium. But ultimately, the one that went forward, the referendum, was the new because it was cheaper and that would qualify for state reimbursement.
So we're asking the AE team to provide that analysis. So that,
Yeah, or at least up through the estimate. I mean, again, they would need to provide a certified document or anything if they determined the concept that they proposed with square footage renovations. You know, if new team, you know, maybe they can figure some way out, do it
Yeah.
cheaper. You know, if they can, then, you know, absolutely, you'd want to follow that through and let the, you know, let this committee and the townsfolk make a decision whether you go renovation or not.
If
So-
we were to use all school property and build a new school, this does not apply, this is only added on to the old building.
Correct, yes, if you build a new school, it's a new project. In that case, they would pay for whatever you chose to do, let's say the newer sections, demolish those. You wanted to make some more room on site, whatever you chose to do. Typically, the state would pay to demolish the older building, they might be putting parking there in the future. So forth, so that would be part of the project, but it would be under the thing. But again, if you can prove to the state that it's cheaper to build new than to renovate, then there's an avenue for you to get the higher reimbursement rate. So it's
yeah, it's more complicated.
a little bit, but
But No, I mean, then just that discussion because of the special legislation and deeper conversations with the legislative intent. So I think there's
Well, right now, through 2027, I don't have it in front of me tonight, but there are still the two rates that are listed. But they are the 15% added, in essence, to previous year's rate, so I think it's 78 and 80.3 or somewhere in the neighborhood.
yeah, so, and I think there's further conversations. I think we need to get.
The point, the original point was.
Yeah.
The architect needs to, if it's gonna be a renovation addition project at Hall Memorial School, which is the only site for renovation addition. It needs someone needs to sign off to say the bones are good for another 50 years.
Yep.
So.
Thank you.
You're saying you just need to do that, we're gonna wanna pass that.
To make sure that they've included that in their scope.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I don't want all of a sudden somebody come back to, oh, no, I didn't include that, that's it. We want
Yeah,
to.
good point. Is that the scoping item?
Yeah.
All right. I'll take one. We did good. Okay. Any other questions on the AE services before we move on? All right, hearing none. Right into communications. 6B communications. How did I structure this? All right. First off, just general communications. The next thing in your packet was just some email correspondence between Bill, EAS, and then Scott had chimed in on behalf of Colliers as well, and we forwarded that information. Basically trying to confirm a couple of things. The first being the square foot cost consideration that comes into effect potentially, but it looks like it is going to come to effect in some way, shape, or form.
Their response was that that provision was accepted, and that they would be providing a narrative of explanation, hopefully this week, to clarify our question.
You automatically get those?
I'm not sure how they would post that. I think we'll probably have to reach out to Nick and Rochelle Dixon. Maybe just follow up by maybe Thursday to see if they post. No, they're not proactive about sending anything out and or post anything.
And that outreach really has to come to the superintendent's office.
So
So,
unfortunately,
yeah.
yes, or now than ever, they're looking to get something fulfilled.
Bill, if you could just be sure to copy.
Yeah, I will, yeah.
Sure.
And if you want something specific, just email me and I'll make sure I put it.
So that was, yeah, so we asked questions. The answer was, we'll get you answers at some point. We hope. Which is where we're at. But Bill had also asked a follow-up question about trying to confirm, the half day pre-K, full day pre-K, the early education bonus requirements, and that one was entirely punted. At least for now, so. We will, that's one of those things we're gonna have to keep pursuing. And we'll rely on your guidance on, as the OGA or DAS whisper got for us here.
Yeah, we may be able to place a backdoor calls with a friend if it would, see what we can do as well. Still have some connections and elements there.
So those, you have that communication, or at least where it stands currently. As we get further update, Bill is going to keep pushing it through the superintendent's role. It's a friend guidance. We'll continue to work to try to get those answers so that the community feels comfortable.
It says for the portion of the building used primarily for such purpose. Does that mean that this applies only to early childhood, like special ed?
They did not answer the question.
Okay, that was your part of your question. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was its earlier provision, but the later ones that have been published now, it's. For early childhood education, if you qualify to meet that standard, whatever that standard is, you will get 15% for the entire building,
That's-
elementary school, yes.
Thank you, that was my understanding.
This special education piece is just for the,
Just for the area for special education.
We're just looking for clarification on what defines the preschool program. Is it a full day program? Is it a half day, is a half day program acceptable? Because that's what the goal was. I didn't want to plan on it and then find out it doesn't fall.
and ultimately, if we don't get these answers, I mean, that's a discussion point as well, understanding that we should position ourselves, present, I guess, the worst case.
Although-
Area to the town. But
Clarification, the first issue may provide some relief to this committee on their schedule and approach. As you may have an understanding of by the end of this week.
so cross your fingers.
Typically, how long does it take to get this sort of response from them?
But.
Are you asking for a black and white response or are you asking for just a general response?
Good enough guidance.
I would say there's very few things that they will say this will happen. Until you put an application in, unless it's something that's in legislation. I think last time we dealt with this, it was face-to-face meetings where we got a better sense of where it was going, but still not black and white. I mean, I don't know. if you think the same
Okay,
thing.
so going in, we may not know the criteria.
We
Or-
might, you might not, we might though, and that's, so we can also see what other people have put in for applications, because that is new legislation. That was July 1, 2025 legislation. So anybody putting an application in for July 1, June 30th, 26. They're gonna have.
Assuming it's an elementary school and they're
Assuming it's
Right.
an elementary school.
really trying
At
to.
least give us some hint of how it's being interpreted then. Okay.
Correct.
Yep, and we'll just keep working the questions,
Yep.
repeatedly and as promptly as we can as a committee.
And Tammy might be a resource in that as well.
And that's, yeah, I think that's another avenue.
Yeah.
Once we get there. Either way, we need to make sure that we keep our representatives kind of engaged in one of the processes we're heading with it, so, we'll have to communicate how we engage, Tammy's office in particular. All right, so. Next up. Mailer number 2. Lisa. Was not at our last meeting, but apparently channeled the committee's will, because when I sent her. A description of what we thought could be on the mailer, she had already kind of drafted up something that hit most of those points already. What you have before you is what she sent. As a draft for this, for a second mailer for us. The back, I think, is pretty consistent with, here's how you find us.
Yeah, same.
And the front is kind of the description of why we're here. Or
Yeah,
what
I
we're,
think one of the challenges that I've had is trying to strike a balance between just based on what's happened in the past, trying to be cognizant of things that could potentially just kind of set people off, or just, and for me, that's just keeping it very like, do you have questions? Here's how to get answers. And encouraging people to show up to our meetings, or encouraging people to email us. So that's kind of like, one thing that's going on a lot for me when I look at this. But then also, I also don't want people to be like, why are you sending out the same mailer? We already got a mailer and you're wasting money, or whatever it is. Although I do know that there were some challenges, although I think overall the process of getting it printed and the process of sending it out, I think ultimately went well and was, I mean, I know inexpensive is a relative word, but I think considering that how many households we reached, I think the money is well worth it. And so, yeah, those were the pieces that are kind of going on. I do know that, I mean, I did listen to the discussion and I think there were some suggestions around adding some more specificity at, you know, things maybe about Hall Foundation or, which I think I did actually mention briefly. That's in there.
Did I?
Yeah. So those are the pieces, kind of this balance between like, we're sending out another mailer, which I think, you know, is a very good idea. And we want to provide people with new information, or maybe it is sufficient just for like some repetition around like, here's how you access us, here's how you access information, here's how, especially because I know that even though the flyers were requested to be sent to every household, I know that there were certainly people, Jim, for example, who did not receive the flyers. So I think there is value in repetition of getting information out to every household, or at least trying to get information out to every household. But there was a little part of me that was like, well, what's like the new piece here, and trying to balance that. But not putting things in the flyer though that would like inflame conversations around this topic, or which again to me comes down to like encouraging people to, here's where you find the source of information. Here's where you go for more questions. Here's where you show up in person or online to get involved, and these are the opportunities for it.
So what my thoughts on this, Lisa, were to add a little bit more even detail, meaning like we were considering multiple options, such as a new school, a renovation of Hall, a new building on Hall site, you know, give the real, you what?
That was my only feedback.
Yeah, I think we want to list those and the next line there, where it says important decision-making between the town and the Hall Foundation regarding the future use of Hall Memorial School property. I think we should mention the fact that the Hall Foundation has agreed to transfer ownership of the property in full to the town with recognition of, with some limited caveats. Because that is a big sticking point about the Hall Foundation. If the Hall Foundation is willing to give the property, I think I want that information out there clearly.
Just like, excuse me, I would almost put like, we are considering multiple options and then have the options be like bullet points, like not just a mundane paragraph that people are like, oh, I'm not reading all this crap. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, if you do little bullet points, it's like, oh, what's this? Or your eye kind of goes through it like, oh, what's all these? What are they talking about? You know what I mean? Instead of just another sentence underneath.
Do you hear that, Lisa?
I did, and that makes sense. Yeah, I'll add in the bullet points to note the options. And I think I actually had all that in there, and then I deleted it.
Lisa,
a lot of space.
Sorry, your microphone is cutting in and out real bad. Sorry.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, start that over, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, I initially had the bullet point. I initially actually had exactly that in the flyer. But then I was like, oh, it's kind of taking up a lot of space, so I pulled it out. But since like it sounds like we have some agreement around this, I'll add it back in. I'll just make it work. But I will do it with bullet points underneath that we're considering all options. And then I'll also add in the transferring ownership, and then I can send it back to everybody, or I don't know, maybe back to you, Jim, in particular. I'm not sure to get people's final sign off on it.
How do we want to describe the options?
Say that again.
How do we want to describe the options? So what will you put with your bullets?
New school.
Okay, new school.
On a to be determined new property.
Yep.
A new school on the existing Hall site. And a addition renovation to the existing Hallsville building. Check. Compared against, do we want to know compared against the costs of renovating our existing school buildings?
Yeah, renovating and repairing.
Not that the committee is not considering, that, like, we're not tasked with doing that,
Yeah,
but do we, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do we want to make a statement basically saying to avoid or to offset? Or do we just want to say we're not?
Not an option you're considering bringing to.
No, not the referendum, just
So
say,
I think that
I think it's a cost, it's a cost we need to evaluate those.
You would do it as an
So that's what I'm trying to get at, yeah.
Yeah, compared to operating as we are now.
you could do since the cost of repairing the two schools was much more than building new or renovating, we are considering multiple options. So we're acknowledging that we considered those recommendations, which came from the community, that we should just repair the schools. But we have priced it out, and that was more expensive, am I correct, than,
well, it's not matched to anything now.
yeah,
Yeah,
anyway,
you have a number from what December.
the two schools,
I'd be careful taking that state.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too early. Maybe that further complicates it and our work is gonna get there. Maybe we just stick it to the options.
Yeah,
Those
I
three
think
options,
so.
Lisa.
Yeah, I think so, especially because I just know that unless we pull out other sections, it's just gonna be too many words. I think
Yeah.
it'll read more like a report than a quick flyer, so. Which we can, I mean, there's no, I'm certainly very open to feedback. I want this to be a collaborative process, so if people feel like there are things that should be cut off of it in replace of some of the things we're talking about, that's fine, but I think for sure I can fit in those three options. If we add in more details, though, I would say we'd probably have to cut. Just to keep the font the right size, or I think the font is, I thought how the flyer originally printed was a good size font. I thought it was clear. So yeah, I think we'd have to cut again, which is fine. We just have to decide on what we cut.
Well, I think that's good, Lisa. I'm more concerned about just continuously hitting the community with these to, still pay attention. We're still talk with us.
I mean, I do think it is important somehow, some way that people know that we are. Trying to think of how I want to word it, sorry. Okay, like Adam had said online, so we'll just, comparing the current operating budget to. Cause that is an option, like we have said from the beginning, that like a no is also an option. You know what I mean? Yes, but I don't want people to think, okay, well, they're just like, I don't know how to put that into words.
I think I see what you're saying. Like, you don't want it to come across as like, these are like, one of these options will be occurring.
So is it just saying we'll do a comparison of, at one point, we'll do a comparison of what it would cost to give this current schools updates to keep them operational compared to, and if there's any reimbursement cost for that compared to what it would be to renovate
Lisa, how about
and all that.
How about this, Lisa? We are considering multiple options. List the three options right after that, and then following that, go, no single solution has been predetermined, and options are being weighed against the costs to maintain our existing buildings.
Yeah.
Check. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know that cost is
We-
important to a lot of the taxpayers, and I'm sure they want to know that. Cause a lot of people might.
Yep.
Assume that it is more affordable to maintain what we already have.
Right.
And a big point of contention for a lot of people in town to
Yeah.
make an educated decision on what are you gonna vote for?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I just don't want that to be up the window. I think that's important to include that we are taking that into consideration. And I think Jim just worded that masterfully, so I agree with that.
Okay. No, I agree too. And I think that's all really critical, so I'll make it. Might mean cutting some other things out, but I agree. I think it's really important.
The only last comment I have, just because it, on the second page, right below, how can my voice be heard? Can we just adjust that paragraph? So person isn't split and discussion isn't split. Like, I think it's just the text box.
Okay. First thing in discussion.
It's such a stupid minor thing, Lisa, but
Oh, no, I got it. So I'll work on this and send it, just I'll probably take like 2 days and I'll send it back to kind of do like a final look. But that would mean so last time the whole process really took 2 weeks. So just so we're all on the same page, that would mean that this is, and of course I can't get my calendar open. So let's say we get it to the printer for maybe the 16th of March. It's there with them for a week, it goes out. So this would mean like showing up in people's mailboxes around March 30th.
Lisa, I think I mean, if you think you can turn this around in 2 days, I can add it to the agenda for Thursday at the start, say approval of mailer number 2, and then we can just get it off the
That's
printer.
true. All right, that would be good.
Yeah. Just get it
That would be
done.
good. Yeah. No, I think that's it. Yeah, that would be great.
If that works for your schedule, I mean, I don't think it'll take.
No, it shouldn't take me very long.
Do we want to mention the state's reimbursement rate?
We did that on the last one.
Just as a reminder, just to, because I think. Just a lot.
Maybe if the options develop a little more, then we can put some potential rates to each option.
Like just mean the
Yeah.
70.
I think this is more, I mean, the consensus kind of last meeting and discussion was, this is more about getting what we're looking at out to the community. And we are still very much developing at the very aggressive but early stages of developing those details over the next couple of months. So I'll add that to the agenda for tomorrow.
Okay.
For Thursday's meeting, just to touch on it briefly so we can move to approve that for you.
That would be great. And then I could get it out. Maybe they could even print it on Friday. I mean, no promises. I think the last time it took them like 2 or 3 days to print it and then another day to pick up the shipment.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to continue to check up on it.
Are we using the same thing as last time, same place?
I guess the most economical option.
Yeah, I think it was 324 to print it and ship them up here, and then it was about 700 to ship it.
700 to mail, postage, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
We're not.
about 1,100 all in.
Yeah, I think to the extent that we can I think a lot of the lag on that, once we got to the post office, came out fast. The lag was just getting them to print and ship, because I think
That's right, because we got it here. It arrived on Wednesday, got to the mailbox, the Tallinn post office on Wednesday, and then I know I received mine on Friday.
Yeah. So I think we just got to follow what I'm saying, or give them a deadline when we submit it. We're really looking to have this printed, and mailed out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey Lisa, did you get an invoice for that first postcard?
I did. I just got it, I think this week, because I'd reached out to them. I reached out to them last week. I think I got it this week, and I forwarded it to Mike.
So Phil, as you work through the financial statement, sure.
That's what I was,
Just make sure we catch
yep.
up.
Because the USPS is on there, the other than it was, yep.
Okay. Um. Thank you guys for the mailer. I think the more information we can get out to the public, the better off we are. Let's do it. Any other comments? All right, moving on. Wellington Wire submission, just a brief update, that did get to Parks and Rec. I think from multiple avenues, when all is said and done, so thank you, Lisa, so that, I have not heard otherwise, but did they confirm that's all set? Perfect. So that flyer, a version of our flyer will be out in Wellington Wire for further distribution, which is great. All right. Other community outreach considerations. This was, I think the standing item we have is just, we talked last meeting. And Phil, you jumped on that for us, distributing that flyer and social media, you know, on the Facebook groups, et cetera. I think we want to have some ability to follow up and, you know, when there are responses or input from the community, finding a way to concisely and effectively, just, again, send another message.
Does that make sense to make no commenting, and if they want to comment, they can come sit here in front of us instead of being keyboard warriors, and there's a lot of that, and I think if you give them ample opportunity to sit in front of everybody here and have an open discussion. Instead of people on.
I would say that, but people aren't gonna do it.
Okay, well,
Some people aren't gonna do it, and
we're wasting resources with our people commenting on social media and going back and forth with keyboard warriors.
so I'm wondering whether there's an efficient way of doing it where we respond to the questions just in another post. I think Phil had.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it. So what I posted, I didn't get into back and forth. There was one resource that I posted because it was still current. What I didn't do was go through where I posted it. I took any of the comments, whether they were questions or comments, something that I pulled off that I thought was the question, like, what about X? And I came up there, I thought off of that post, there were 5 or 6 questions that came off. That we very easily could take and turn around and just do another, because the what I posted was what Lisa had done for the wire. So now if we do the same yellow thing, that's our yellow color, just put, you know, SBC questions and post it on Facebook again. If more questions come off of it or comments, I can just do another one. So what came out of that was the town voted down a new school a few years ago. Why do we have a school committee looking into consolidated to 2 schools? I think that needs to be addressed. We can answer that question. And that's our next post that goes up there without having to do constantly scan it. You can go back in a week, scan it again, what questions came out of it, put it back on the thing and answer. I don't know if it's a good way to do it, but it's, you know, I think more people could weigh in. So that was one question. Is that really a reimbursement rate? Why is it 80% and up to 93? Will Wellington need to expand its preschool program to receive the additional reimbursement? Will a full cost analysis be completed so the community knows the cost of each option? Are taxpayers expected to pay more to cover the cost of this building? I think we can answer those, and what we could do is if I pull those off, I don't mind writing generic answers, sharing with everybody, chime in on it. And you don't need a vote to do it, you just need to, you know, if we said, hey, if we post a flyer like this on a Monday, it goes onto a couple of the Wilmington high profile pages. You look at questions by Friday, and then the committee has a certain amount of time to respond to what it is.
Phil, could you also save them as frequently asked questions?
I could
on our
do it in a
website?
I could do it in a big document and put them in. I think we didn't get the hits on that. Whereas they're gonna live, you know, on Facebook. I mean, it's a different way than. I agree. I don't want it, because as soon as you get into back and forth, it's not
Resources.
it's not productive. Agreed. It's not productive. And I feel like this is, and we are providing an answer without getting into back and forth. The back and forth is meant to be here.
Can we get our OPM's I know, what do you think about this, Scott? How do you feel about how we handle
So
social
I
media?
agree. I agree. I mean, there's a lot of chatter. You need to filter out the questions that are appropriate, questions that require a response. But put it out weekly instead of daily. So that allows you to pull them all together, form an answer, review it, approve it, and then post it. Yeah, so no, I agree with what Phil's all. It's a good response.
We didn't do that last time. Just a different avenue. I was just trying to take, because it drives me crazy too, I have to be honest with you. Like, how do you address it? And I think it's a different way to get information out there without having, I mean, we had an FAQ document that was 65 questions long, and it just, are you really gonna scroll through? This is like right there, it's a hit. 5 or 6 questions, bam, here's the answers.
It also addresses it like in the moment or a little bit closer to in the moment rather than letting things kind of
Yes.
evolve. Or feel like it's going unanswered, and at the speed this is moving, I think we do need to, or I think at the speed that our process requires, given the deadlines and schedule constraints we're under, I think the more we can be engaging or show that we're listening, even if they're not coming to the meeting. In some capacity, I think we need to,
Well, I agree, and I just think it's important that there's a lot of misinformation out there from maybe people that just don't have the right information. And that's a problem, because you start getting into everybody's heads, this information that may not be true, or, and then next thing you know, we have problems here. That's true.
But I-
Well,
but I
just,
jump in on
I
that?
think we're all here for the right, we're all here to get to the right reason and the right thing for the community, but it feels like there's some battles here that's happening online, and just like to find a way to nip it in the bud. That's just what it is.
These questions could also guide our future cards. Questions that people are asking that we haven't already addressed.
yeah, potentially. Jeremy, did I hear you pop on?
Yeah, I did. Could I suggest something? Instead of like Phil Stevens coming up with like on his when you do the boards like in town, could the SBC create a group so then it comes from the SBC instead of Phil Stevens or James Marshall or me or anybody that's on the thing? Create a Facebook page for the SBC 20 and start there instead of coming from an individual.
I think I'd asked that previously. I kind of have concerns with that too, personally. Just because I don't want to be like, great, I'm chair, but it's the Facebook profile, like it is what it is. I think it should. I just don't know what the process is, because we've had issues in getting the town of Willington page functional, for posts. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm not saying a page, I'm just saying create a person as the SBC. Of it coming
Yeah.
from a Phil Stevens, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We have to create a group of some capacity.
That's what we did last time.
Yeah. Maybe so, it's probably not selected because we all got waived, right?
But I'd probably, the challenge is you need people to look at that page. So Jeremy, are you saying to still post it on like, what is it, the citizens page and the
Have that
friends and
group
neighbors
make-
of the
have
two?
that group makes the posts.
Yeah, but you know how you did it, it was under your name, how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did it, it was under you.
Yeah,
Create a person that's the SBC, you can still manage the same way you manage your personal account, right? But you got to switch over and, you post like whatever on that thing, and then we get the questions and it will be on that page itself, not on your personal page or some personal page. It's not you posting, it's the SBC posting it.
That's a good point, Jeremy. You could have an SBC page and then someone could be the administrator, but their name would not go on it.
That is
So,
absolutely what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I like both
That's a
those
good-
ideas. I mean, I think unfortunately. It would be wonderful if there was a button at every seat we have out here, but we have to meet the people where they are, and if they want to be on Facebook and social media. I mean, there's been times before I was involved too. Even with the warehouse thing, that I couldn't come to the meetings, but I was trying to go out and see what was going on, and there's a lot of families in town, I'm sure, who can't come here for meetings, and maybe they want to. But I agree with Phil, I like that idea of responding to those. And I agree with Jeremy that unfortunately some people might come with a bias. If it's coming from James or if it's coming from Phil, like, oh, look, they're just pushing this agenda, they're pushing this certain information, so I think it would be advantageous to have a group page and then as to who's able to access that or be the administrator. I don't know about any of that, but.
I like the way you phrase that, Sam, meet people where they are. You know, like,
Yeah, because
we'll do that in I'll do that 50 ways to Sunday, however it works.
Yeah.
We gotta hit them in there.
even, I mean, there might come a time where we have to door knock, you know what I mean? Where we might be at the dump, the transfer station on the weekend, we gotta, thinking that people are gonna come here. It's never gonna happen. Most people aren't gonna come here, you know what I mean? Or even go online or even watch the YouTube
Well,
videos,
right.
I mean, all these different things, it's good choices, but.
Who's
it's
managing
a
that?
double-edged sword.
Who's managing the town side? That's to Mike's office, right?
I get a social media program, so.
Alright, I'll follow with Mike and just ask about what the steps are for creating an account.
I will look to see if our
Or
old
even
one.
have an old one still.
We
Okay,
did it in a weird way because it wasn't our own page. We did it as like a group, so then I could log into that, post stuff, but I can't.
yeah,
I don't know if we killed it, that's what I'm trying to figure.
So if you could look into that, I will follow with Mike about process for getting that established, no matter what. DPW has a page, you know, like, Parks and Rec has a page, you know, that sort of situation, I think. Whatever it takes to get us one too. Okay. But the only other item I want to touch base on, since we had Scott here in attendance, is we had talked a lot about the potential for getting either marketing or PR assistance for the committee to help us do this communications piece more effectively, and to reach as many people as we possibly can. I don't know if you have, or Colliers has any experience in
Yeah, you typically,
soliciting, getting somebody onboarded for that sort of an effort just to help us build community outreach.
let me reach out to our marketing folks. I mean, typically, we're producing a lot of the presentations and equipment and materials as posted, but we're not, heavily involved with the different.
Oh, I'm not saying necessarily Colliers doing it specifically, but have you worked with another organization
Yeah,
that,
let me post that question to our group and I will follow up.
because I mean, even if it's engaging them, I'd love. Like, that's great, we can say we're doing this flyer, but if they can visually say, this is gonna be more, this is gonna. Have more of an impact for you, like that's, like, we just wanna see people
Yeah, there was
engaged.
a group, I think Phil mentioned the name, Advancement to Air School Consolidation, they had hired a company that was actually on board, I think, before we were even hired. Some of their earlier studies, and I don't know, Phil, if you recall that, I believe you mentioned it. Previously.
It'd be nice to have a plan, you know, beyond social media, in all the different ways we could engage the community.
So our AE team, you know, they'll have community outreach and community forums. Scott, I think, has something in his schedule as well. There'll be that aspect of it.
Yeah, in cases, I mean, we've gone to, or had committee members, PAC members, go to soccer games, on a morning. Even people who bake brownies, they went around handing out brownies, but then flyers on the project information. I mean, you can get creative, it's just a matter of having the foot soldiers to, as you kind of mentioned, almost getting out there, knocking on the door. If there's a group of people, go to people, so soccer games, other civic functions, getting into senior centers, and, I think Phil did a lot of that last time as well. I know we talked about that, you went to the senior center and spoke,
Transfer state.
whether it's, right, Kiwanis groups or,
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. dog and pony show support, I'm very fortunate for it, but I'm happy to get out there, it's great to create an information session when we get there just to answer all senior center. Great. I don't know whether the library, if we want to host something like that, we'll look at that as we schedule more formal information. Like, I don't want to overlap necessarily or contradict some of that more formal community engagement from the design team. But I do think any way we can connect, and you just put a flyer in somebody's hand saying, hey, please come,
Is there an event, calendar anywhere for like town? Like I know we have Wilmington Day is usually May, that's coming up soon, right? What about even like PTO stuff, or PTA stuff, or like family dances, or,
there's a lot of those.
orchestra?
I got a dance Friday night. That's cool.
Art night, is any of that stuff going on?
We should put a flyer at the theater.
We could make a list of all the
Blue,
potential.
we could get in there,
Right?
I think there's a lot, you need to start that list, I think.
I think Wilmington, they're good little.
I think you did that last time. Well, there was a table set up with, board that had information and flyers and something sat there to ask questions.
Yeah, I think we should compile them, just go along with.
I agree. Yeah, we have some in the calendar, but there's others, but even the, once they start like the Parks and Rec, there's the
Yeah,
concerts in the park and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like.
That might be a little, well, that'll be good at that point, but that's usually in the summer.
I'm just.
Right,
That
no, that's
type
a
of
good
thing.
point.
I think what
Even
this
if-
gathering is we want it on the list, so it's an
If
opportunity.
somebody's there with flyers.
What about the town Easter egg hunt too? I mean, I know it's a kid thing, but we could have somebody, I'll pass flyers out, but I'm there, right? I mean, kind of get a bit.
Oh, they have an inside porch where there's,
Right, so even if we set something up there, you get the table with information to pick up and grab.
Tables are good because there's a space. If someone's walking around, you don't really know that's what they're.
Speaking of the Easter egg hunt, do we want to maybe donate a basket? Don't they do raffles? What do you think that would get some adverse publicity, or do you think that would seem weird?
Tax
We
dollars.
could use that.
Yeah.
So like if we wanted to donate, like if I was like, oh gosh. So. That's the stuff I'm gonna get rid of. Donate a basket.
I wouldn't want to
Those
risk.
bags. Yeah, Facebook full stuff, guys. I'll throw SBC on there.
So I think why don't we, is anybody willing to kind of? take
Is that a
charge
bad
of
look, is my
filing?
question.
Oh,
I can do that, because I have all the school events,
Yeah.
and I don't mind it.
So we're gonna dump
That's
another
not-
thing on your lap, Bill.
That's not hard.
And then I think we can dedicate one straight, like I'm happy to make outreaches like the senior center, reach out to them
Breakfast.
and
And
do
maybe-
that sort of stuff. I'm happy to, one or two of us wanna go in and just say, hey, look, this is where we're at. Wanna make sure you're engaged, here's how you can reach us.
I know there's also a Caterpillar Club that goes to the library and that Tuesday morning.
Oh.
For like homeschool kids or like pre-K kids who are in the period pay program for moms and stuff, maybe. I know one of the moms who does that and I could maybe give her some flyers to give.
If you guys have ideas, it sounds like Phil's collecting.
I'll share a list.
Phil start a list, so we can do it as a Google Doc, kind of all that stuff. Okay.
But I guess my question too, just so I know, because this is something that I could take on, do you want me to make a basket for the raffle, or do we think that's a bad look to do that? That is the SBC, but I'll just pay for it, or I'll just put it together without being
I
reimbursed.
would like to confirm guidance on that. I have a tendency to, I would hesitate to, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm asking, like, is that something that's acceptable? And
Let me ask the question and we'll have that conversation next week when we have our.
Okay, yeah, just let me know because I need time.
I mean, I appreciate the.
Yeah, but I don't want it to look
Motivation,
weird
I know.
or go against the rules or whatever.
Correct, I just wanna make sure, I don't want it. Even if it's completely clean, I don't want the appearance of it going against.
Right,
you know,
that's why I wanted.
I'd rather. I have no problem sitting there at a table, giving stuff away, maybe a little part.
Okay.
But let's ask the question. I'll follow.
Okay, let me know.
All right. Bill, if you, just to circle back on that comment that Scott made about that firm from Mansfield. Yep. You can find that, just send it to me. I'm happy to reach out and just.
It's Tall Timbers Marketing. And it's literally talltimbersmarketing.com.
I have no problem reaching out and trying to establish, a meeting, just to say, hey, look, this is where we're at. Have you done something?
What do you do?
Or we do, we understand work with Mansfield. Okay. And then we can, again, have that work and bring it to the committee. Okay. Anything else on communications? That was plenty for one night.
Would it be possible to move item C to the end? Because you may or may not want my participation for HDA
Yes,
here.
let's do that. I don't know if I need a formal motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we
To
do.
adjust the agenda.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna make a motion that we move our next item C, administrative needs, to the end of our agenda following item 6F.
Second,
Seconded by Sam. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Right.
I think that was ayes. Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. What's that?
didn't catch it.
All right, so property evaluation. That moves us to property evaluation research, so. We have, just by way of background, Jeremy, I know you, Adam, and.
Sam.
Sorry, who's, thank you. Have been in touch with our zoning agent, have been looking at properties. I think what I will say in conversation with Scott last Thursday, just in understanding where this is at, I do want to be careful about identifying properties or even potential properties publicly until we've got to a point where we can assess them all individually, just particularly if it's a new property that we are considering. So I just want to put that out there to just be careful, because we don't want to influence our potential purchase opportunity or purchase price, to put it bluntly. If we were to pursue, if we have a property identified that is worth pursuing. So with that said, I think schedule has a lot to do with it, and some of the assessment and evaluation needs.
Yeah, I personally didn't even put in property acquisition into the schedule because, again, finding the property, the landowner is starting negotiation, getting the land purchase agreement in place, full appraisals, a phase 1 site assessment, potentially survey of wetlands. All of that
Prior.
is going to be a monumental task. I'm really hoping that things go in our favor this week. But with that said, if there is working with the town planner or a committee member who's putting together an additional list, and I'm happy to reshare the 120 we looked at previously. Any new parcels, please get them to my attention as soon as you can, because I will immediately start a head level overview, similar to what we used in the past to evaluate those sites.
So that said, Jeremy, I'm gonna defer to you on kind of where you're at, just reading Scott in a little bit on anything you guys have identified over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, I have a few identified, yes. And I'm more than willing to share the list with him, and we can talk, and that way there he can look at the couple of them.
All right, can you send that through to me, and I'll copy it through to you, Scott? And I'll copy you on it, Jeremy, so we can, if Scott has any follow-up questions, specifically on whatever you send.
Yeah, let me touch base with Adam and we'll make a couple decisions on between the short list I had and see if they have any other short lists, and we can go, and then we'll send it out to them.
Yeah, so what I will say is, well, I know you're already aware of it, but schedule on that is gonna be a priority, because what I'm inferring from Scott's description is that, which is why I was nervous about it, is that a June 30th deadline may make inclusion of any project on a new site challenging, or potentially not even achievable, unless the legislation and the square foot reimbursement piece allows us to extend past that June 30th window where we might have more time to do the due diligence. So we really, I think by the end of this week at latest, need to identify any properties so that we have a shot, if need be, of having Scott kind of chase them down and do initial evaluations to see if we even have a property that is worth exploring at all.
And again, getting the architect on board as well, they're gonna have civil engineers.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a lot of input on viability as well. So again, we can do the high level, but get onboarding them as soon as possible. Is gonna be critical.
So I think it would be good to have that ready to go from when we get an AU team on board. So within the next week, guys. That.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's doable.
All right. Any other thoughts on that, Scott? Other than take it one step at a time. All right.
Jim, can I just interject quick?
Please.
John Tehan joined and he just messaged me. He has some news that's quite relevant to our committee. I don't know if he can jump in and share the news or if that would be very out of order. But he does want to share based on some decisions that were made at the Board of Selectmen's meeting tonight, things that could impact us. So that's why he's joined. Maybe he can't say anything. I don't know, but.
Can you give me a little more info on what this is about specifically and that it's?
Membership of the SBC.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a shot. John Tian, are you able to hear us and available?
Yep, I'm right here and I'm unmuted. I just wanted to let you know that at this evening's BOS meeting, I was named to fill the vacancy on the SBC. So I'll be getting sworn in prior to the next meeting. I've been on most of the meetings. I think I maybe missed one of the SBC so far. So I'm pretty well up to speed with where you guys are on things. And at the end of tonight's meeting, I see that you're taking care of, assignments. If you want to assign me something to have done by the next meeting, I'm happy to jump in.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, John. Thanks for hopping in and apparently welcome to the committee.
Thanks.
Welcome, John.
Welcome, John, and thank you for being willing to get involved. Were you part of the prior round of interviews?
Yes, I was part of the first round of interviews. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I must have been first runner-up or something. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, thank you for volunteering and being willing to engage. I am going to say you need to get sworn in and officially recorded, and I need to hear all that from the clerk's office before we're able to engage you officially. In the interim, what I will say is there's plenty available on the school building committee website on history to refresh yourself on, and I would just encourage you to be as up to date on our meeting minutes and viewing the recordings to date, so that you hit the ground running with speed.
Yep.
And we will look forward to having you join us at our future meetings.
All right, terrific. I'll stay on this until the end tonight, just because I've been staying up, keeping up with it. So I'll be here. I sincerely doubt you'll need to ask me any questions, but I'll be here if you need anything.
Oh, thank you, John. I appreciate it.
And sorry, maybe I should have waited until, because we're having a discussion about alternates, right? I just don't have the agenda right in front of me.
No, it was as good a time as any. It was in between items. but to allow Scott to catch some of this, next up, I think we're doing property evaluation, right? All right, item 6E, educational specifications update by Board of Education. You guys haven't met yet?
No, we won't, I
It's
mean,
just an old business that'll hang there.
they're
Talked
not
about
gonna
it.
show it until we have. They'll
So,
go pretty quickly once they're on board though.
so we're talking mid-April by approval, and
Yeah.
that seems fine, we'll get
Yeah.
there with the assistance of the. Consultants.
Yeah. Correct.
Did you have anything else on that? Scott, in particular? Anybody else have anything? All right. So moving on, item 6F, operational impact consideration for consolidation, that is just a talking point from last time, that'll stay on the list just as a placeholder. One of the considerations is understanding what and having the ability to have some meat behind it, what the operational impact of consolidating schools to one may be, and or the operational impact of any additional programs that may or may not be required to capitalize our reimbursement rates, so that the community has the ability to weigh that as a factor in their decisions. So more to come, we'll just leave that as an old business hanging. Any other thoughts? Moving on, items, going back to 6C now, administrative meeting. SBC financial report, thank you, Scott, I appreciate it, we'll be in touch.
Right.
Administrative needs, SBC financial report, okay, that is in process. You don't have printouts of that, do you? Because it's not
Now,
up to date.
there's only two, so we have some business manager right now and. They're adding in the 127 that was approved in town meeting. There was already the 72,661.99 in there. It'll make the full 200. And the only two items in there so far are the postcard mailing, which is the actual mailing. That was $686.17. And the legal agreement that was done with the Hall Foundation was $910. It shows $1,596.17 spent. That does not include the printing of the last postcard and the Colliers agreement. So I expect once those things are added.
So the Colliers agreement may take a little time to get on there, because they have to go through contract. Formalize a contract for the final dollar value, and I think Scott even said tonight he had something in there. That I could field off. Yeah, field off on site was included in the language of the contract that he sent. So I think there's gonna be edits to that. I don't know whether it'll impact the dollar value. But that'll show up as an encumbrance, and as invoices get submitted, we'll pull towards it, but it's in the works. We will have these as regular invoices once it's formatted in the business offices and provides budgets every 3 days.
Yeah.
To get where we need to, for the town to get to where it needs to be.
We're $12.
Yes, every $12. So that is moving along, and we don't have many expenses, so it hasn't been a big priority currently. Look ahead schedule coordination. Scott gave this milestone schedule, so what we have coming up this week, I will make notification to the AE teams for interviews. We're gonna do interviews this Thursday, that'll be a special meeting call. We will also need a special. We'll also need a special meeting by Monday or on Monday to formally select the AE teams. So putting that on your radar, so it's not surprising, we're meeting every week until we get through these onboarding process so that we can keep this going. My thoughts would be we keep it dedicated just to AE selection. It's a special meeting just for that purpose. Hour and a half. On Monday.
16.
Thank you, the 16th. How does that look for everybody? That's kind of what we committed to, is making award by the 17th for recommendation for award, so.
It's for the report card.
We can do 7 o'clock, the selectmen will have a meeting, we can do 5:30 to get out of their way, entirely, so that people attend both.
That's your only agenda item, you could also do it on Zoom alone. I know you don't like that, but if you're just,
But we could, whatever, whatever gives people the opportunity to participate, I don't mind doing it either way.
I just don't know if other people can. If it's the only way you can get a quorum.
Well, let me pose this, would 5:30 be on ours for anybody? On Monday, the 16th?
Might be cutting it closer to me.
Right, better up to the
7 o'clock on Monday.
for me, yeah.
7 o'clock, Monday, the 16th? Dedicated meeting?
I'm checking my schedule.
Okay.
That's fine for me.
It's only good for me.
Incognito.
5:30.
I gotta switch Outlook accounts. Hold on.
I know what that's like. Take your time, Jeremy. All right, if that generally works, unless Jeremy waves us off, I'm gonna try to target that. And I'll just get
Monday at 7 is good.
perfect. All right,
In person?
yeah, we'll do it the same as we normally do. Let's try to get here. It's easier to discuss. If you have to be online, you can be online, but I'd rather. It's just easier to talk to you guys, quite frankly.
Will that be an executive session?
May think that for,
And then Thursday was 1 p.m.
depends on, 12:45.
Depends on how you work
It
there.
depends on how much time we wind up having on Thursday and if we feel we need time to further elaborate. I will probably have an executive session on the meeting agenda just for. Final evaluations. But to the degree that we can have that. Out in the public, I would like to do that. Bearing in mind that we want to be respectful of all of our response. Well, so I want to give us the opportunity. All right. And then beyond that. Lots of things, so we'll get there. That's it for special meetings. We will have other check-ins and other requirements, but once we get through the city services, I'm hoping we can do so. Largely on Scott's schedule. Essentially. But it'll stay the same. These are the critical ones of the next week. And then I'm hoping it's mostly just regular meetings from there on out. Until we get into referendum season, figuring out presentation, we're gonna have all sorts of those things. Okay. Committee vacancy, status and steps, we've already addressed. Welcome, John. When it becomes official, thank you for volunteering. And I will follow up with the selectmen just to. I'm sure Mike will probably follow up by email just to let us know that now that the meeting's over. But I will.
Procedural curiosity,
Sure.
you know, if it was extended to the current alternates first before it was asked for regular random.
I do not.
Random,
Um,
no, wasn't, okay, just wondering. That would have seemed like the.
so
That's concerning to me, but that's me.
It wasn't, but there's no hard feelings.
I
yeah,
would
so
have thought, like,
it is
to
a-
me, it would have made sense to ask the alternate and then replace the alternate, but.
I hesitate to jump into the conversation because I wasn't down there for any of it, and it didn't. Come up before I had to come up here for this meeting. What I will say is, that is the selectmen's purview, whatever they decided. I don't know enough to be able to weigh in on that. What I will say is I will ask Mike for update and detail on what the discussion was and
So since I missed that,
So like I said-
who's in there now?
we're hearing from the source himself, John Tian, apparently got nominated and approved to the school building committee at their meeting tonight,
Okay,
at the board of selectmen meeting tonight. I don't know what went into that decision. John let us know that that happened today when they had their special meeting concurrently with us. So,
Thank you very much.
so I will follow up and get confirmation or further elaboration on what went into that decision. If they agree that they'll share it. And they should, so. All right, email accounts. You guys have them now, I think. I did see you to at least three of you, Peter, you included. What I will ask, and Adam, I know you've already done this, for those of you that did get emails, if you could send me an email from those accounts. Just so that I know you have access to them, and then I will put that account on the committee distribution list. So that it goes, all of your future correspondence goes to that instead of your personal emails. Does that work for all? You got it. Adam, did you get one? I think it was you and Peter got one, right?
Yes, I did receive an email from Mike. I tried to log into it, but the link to page just kind of was spinning. So I'll try again later and see if it works.
Yeah, give it a couple of tries. If you have any issues, just reply to Mike and he'll get Novus to get you access. I had trouble as well initially.
Okay.
It can be fun. Lisa, do you have one?
I don't.
right.
I mean, unless I missed it, but I don't have any
No.
memory of receiving.
I emailed her tonight on that when I said that and it bounced right back.
All right, Lisa, I'll follow up with Mike and just have him.
Okay.
Not gotten done my notice yet, for all I know.
Do you know what time that email went out?
I got it this afternoon.
Sometime this afternoon.
Okay, 3:18.
There you go. 3:18, Lisa, around that.
I didn't get anything today about it.
I'll reach out to Mike and copy you, just make sure you get on it.
Okay.
But we're close, we're getting there.
Yeah, everybody else's populates on my computer, which is automatic. Personally, not.
Okay. All right, Lisa, I'll follow up and see if we can push that through. We're so close.
Well, good.
All right,
Does pop up? It does populate. Maybe so I don't know why they can't fit.
all right. I'll get you copied into that, Lisa,
Okay.
to the degree I can. The only other item of business under administrative needs is, and it's not an item of business officially, so I'm gonna make a motion to add an item 6C 5B for regular meeting date discussion.
Could you repeat that?
I'm gonna make a motion to make a new agenda item 6C B, and then thank you. For a continuation of our regular meeting date considerations that we started last meeting. I need a second. I'll second. Thank you. All those in favor? Adding the agenda. Thank you. Aye. Everybody okay online?
All
All right.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you. No abstentions, no nays. Great. So, what you have following our meeting, we had discussion at our last meeting about potentially, potential considerations of relooking at meeting dates because of conflicts. For our alternates who raised the issue initially. So what I did following that meeting is I reached out to the clerk's office. Just to understand what the ramifications of that were from the fact that we have a published meeting calendar for the rest of the year. And making sure that we're compliant with public meeting regulations. So you have that email correspondence in there with you. And a response from the clerk's office and also the FOIA commissions from Russell Blair. So what it would involve is we'd have to cancel the meetings that we have currently. So for every calendar date that we have, we cannot submit a new regular meeting schedule for first meeting for a new schedule will need to be 30 days out. any meetings that would be held on a different day would need to be called as special meetings. I'm really hesitant to do this or consider it all. I think it's been way too confusing for the community, given that we have postcards out, we have regular calendar. I am very concerned about it. As much as I know Thursdays, quite frankly, would be easier for posting agendas. We also have conflicts in Board of Finance, Emergency Services, Facilities, Building Committee, and Zoning Board of Appeals on Thursday evening. I just think it's too many. Yeah, because of schedule issues for regular attendance on Mondays in person.
We also had a person during present to speak say that she appreciated that we had an insistent night that it had been sent out on the card. So, and we have another card ready to go next week that also has those dates. So,
Yeah, this is already going to be a lot for the time. Really hesitant to change this so early on, considering we've only been doing this for 6 weeks. Understanding how much this is and how much you guys are really all about it, and I love that. You guys are really putting all the effort in. I just don't want to add a layer of complicated.
Why, can you tell me why it was considered to be changed over the year?
Because Peter and Lisa have standing conflicts. I think on Monday nights, Peter with Scouts, he gets here. Definitely gets here and makes the effort, but it is a challenge. And Lisa, I think you have.
As long as like hybrid is still an option, I agree with everything you just said. And what others said too. I mean, for me, it's just being able to have remote availability, and Thursdays will pose some challenges as well. And as the seasons change, it'll impact the sports commitments that I have. And I agree. I think what is critical is that we are repeatedly letting people know to come join our meetings on Mondays, the second and fourth Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. So I would not change it on behalf of me in any way, shape, or form.
We're gonna have special meetings all.
That is true.
It's gonna.
We already are.
No way, it's just.
Is it every Monday you're impacted, or is it just a certain Monday?
It's every.
Really?
So the best I can do is do Zoom when I can. Not always chime in or listen. But
Yeah,
it
and
seems like somebody's already voted for somebody else instead of an alternate anyway, so.
We'll get to the
Defeats
bottom
the
of that. Let's get to the bottom of that. Get facts before.
Yeah.
but it is, you're right, they're all right, it's not just regular meetings, Pete, there's gonna be a lot of community forums, there's gonna be a lot of,
That's why a different day and time.
so,
It is what it is.
I do appreciate you bringing it to us. If there's anything else we can explore, I'm happy to do it,
So what's best for the
but
community?
I think we gotta err on what's best for the community and what's best to make sure that we have as many people can regularly.
I guess my point, well, what I was just saying is there consideration if you're gonna call a special meeting? That try and be a Thursday night, because that's the night you said you could do. And that Thursday night, I think, was the night that most other people could do. Am I wrong about that?
Well, any night beside.
Okay, so I think that's just a consideration. Yeah, if there's gonna be a special meeting called, that's how
Let's
you
do it
try.
Thursday.
Yeah, we'll do our best to, I promise I will do my best to coordinate this, amongst all of the very complicated schedules. And thank you for understanding. I had something else and I forget what it is. Sorry, drawing a blank, we're gonna leave it at that. It was important. All right, are you up?
The line.
It'll come to me and we'll all hear about it on Thursday. All right, that's all I had for that item. Moving on then, we're gonna go project considerations and assignments, so basically our task log. Just as a recap, so that everybody's on the same page, Lisa, because I wrote it last, I'm gonna follow up with Mike about your email address. Pop back out, I saw him pop in, I'm sure, okay, yeah, that's all right. I'm going to post an agenda for our special meeting this Thursday for the interviews for the architectural and engineering services team. I will send you guys price proposals for those selected respondents, and I will send out notifications at the top for getting them in here for Thursday afternoon. Lisa, you're gonna work on mailer number 2 and get that out to us ahead of Thursday, and we'll approve that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, beautiful. I'm gonna follow up with Mike about the process for getting a dedicated school building committee Facebook page so that we can make posts moving forward from that account. Bill, you're gonna compile a list of community outreach opportunities for us based on the calendar, and everybody's gonna send their suggestions or thoughts to Bill. It'll be a Google Doc. I'm gonna post a special meeting as, it'll be a special meeting for Monday at 7 PM on 3/16. For the purposes of architectural and engineering services evaluations or final selection. And I will try to reach out to Tall Timbers Marketing to get an initial info session.
Want to take that?
You want to take that? That'd be wonderful.
What is the name?
Tall Timbers Marketing.
We want me to set up.
I think just initially, just try to contact them via email and just ask them, hey, look, this is where we're at, this is our school building committee, we are really trying to engage the community. We don't know if this is something you've done, but we understand that you had some work with the Mansfield, and we'll take it from there.
What do you do?
But what do you do, and is there, given that background, is that something you think would be interested or could give us suggestions on how we could?
And where did we get this information from?
They were tied to Mansfield.
Mansfield.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Your list. But I will reach out to Scott and Phil about setting up, picking a time that works to do just as regular checking calendars. Definitely check out. Yep. And I think that's it. Well, that's what I have for tonight. That's plenty. Anything else? All right. All right, thank you, everybody. So without further ado, next up is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Ann, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Adam. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you very much, everybody. Meeting is adjourned at 9:18. 9:18 PM. Thank you all for your participation and your efforts generally. Greatly appreciated.
You received my email last one?